one. Welcome everyone to Forgotten Feminists. Today, our special guest is 𝗬𝗧. 𝗬𝗧 is my first guest that I have ever had from Bahrain. So I'm looking forward to speaking to her, and I'm sure you're all looking forward to hearing her story. 𝗬𝗧, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Yasmine. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, and I'm super excited.
I should start off by letting everybody know what a trooper you are. 𝗬𝗧 hurt her ankle. She's got like a golf ball ankle, but she still joined us.
Hold on, look, you gotta see it. I mean, it's funny though. Yeah. Don't wear 5-inch heels. and then run while drinking, and then you should be fine.
It sounds like a fun night, actually.
Oh,
but but thank you so much for joining us, even though you were in pain. I appreciate that. So I wanted to start off, as I mentioned, you're my very first guest from Bahrain. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about what it was like growing up there. So Bahrain is like, it has the reputation in the Gulf for being the playground for Saudi Arabians, you know, to escape their conservative country, escape Sharia, and they go there to party. Is that what it's really like? Is your reputation true?
Yeah, I think that Bahrain reached one of the top 10 sin cities in the world. It's so important.
Wow.
So yay, but not so great. And we also joked that whenever Saudis cross the causeway or the bridge, that God does not see past the causeway.
His eyesight's not so good.
Yeah. So they come to Bahrain and they get drunk, they get prostitutes, and they go to the cinemas because they didn't have any cinemas until a few years ago.
Yeah.
But Bahrain in general is quite liberal, and a lot of my friends didn't wear a hijab. And it all depends on your family and how conservative or liberal they are. So it all depends on what they allow you to do.
Mm-hmm. So the country itself, like it's not nearly like the government is, you didn't have like religious police or anything like that. No,
I remember it being a culture shock, actually, going to Saudi, and the religious police just yelling at us and going like, oh, go pray, even though we crossed the causeway the other way to go shopping because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of the causeway, it was popular for women who wanted to drive to get on that causeway and drive to Bahrain. That was the thing. Like, let's get some freedom. Let's drive a car and go watch a movie. Like,
oh my God,
Sin City. Yeah. But I guess it's all relative. Yeah. So you were saying that not necessarily, like it really depends on your family. Some families are more conservative, some families are more liberal. What was your family like? What was it like for you growing up?
So my family is quite religious, and they're Shia. And the way I explain it is how Persians ran away from Iran to escape the Islamic Revolution. My family actually supports the Islamic Revolution in Iran. And they follow 𝗬𝗀𝗪𝗏 and everything. So yeah. So whatever that Khamenei says or Khomeini says, they follow it.
Oh, that's
and I grew up that way. Of course, in the beginning, I did not grow up that way because my parents were not very present for the majority of my childhood. So I was raised by so many people. A lot.
What do you mean by that?
So I had nannies, I had family members, I had maids. So it's
Yeah. So where were your parents? Why weren't they present?
I think they were working, and their relationship was not really great. And my dad was abusive to my mom, and yeah, so they were busy with their own lives. And I think we often forget that our own parents were young raising us. And so they were quite young, so they were not prepped very well for the job.
Yeah. And it is quite common for people, especially in the Gulf, to be raised by nannies. Like, that's pretty typical. Like our guest that we had, the last Forgotten Feminist, was saying that she felt that her nanny, who she had up until 6 years old, was essentially her mom. And she feels like she went through childhood trauma when she lost her mom. and then there was, you know, she felt like her mom was her nanny, who was from the Philippines, and she connected more with her than she did with her actual Saudi mom.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that. And yeah, I recently lost the lady who raised me as well. And she was such a nice woman, and she didn't have anything. Like her sons were fishermen, and she had absolutely nothing. I remember, like, her house was just like, wow. And once a burglar, I was sleeping, and a burglar snuck through the window. And I remember just opening my eyes and going like, you're not gonna find anything here. And I just went back to bed. But she was there. She was there for me, and her daughters were there for the major moments of, you know, my first bra and my first period, and getting my eyebrows done, which is like a rite of passage in the Gulf. So she was there, and when I lost her, it was quite a bit of loss. While I'm not in touch with my own parents, so
yeah. She's family. She's your family.
No, I suck.
Yeah. So once your parents did enter your life, and you were saying that they were pretty strict with you, they're pretty strict about the religion in general. So they put, I suppose, I mean, I know that they put hijab on you at some point.
Yeah, at 9, it was like before. So we have the lunar calendar and the regular calendar, right? And you turn 9 in Hijri, or the Islamic calendar, before you turn 9 in other calendars. So I remember my mom just sitting me down and going like, tomorrow you're going to be wearing hijab. And I'm like, Mama, you mean bukra, like, you know, like for the far future. It's like the way you see inshallah.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, tomorrow, as on the day after today. And so I wore it, because if I didn't, then I go to hell, because I have 2 angels on my shoulders, and they're going to write every little bad thing about me, is not even a 9-year-old. Yeah. And if the bad is more than the good, and considering the way I grew up, I already thought of myself as bad, that it was always my fault, that I was the faulty one. And so for it to like, and now they're going to write things down, those angels. So yeah, so I wore it, and I remember quasi wearing it. So I wear it from the house, and then take it halfway to school, and then halfway coming back from school, I'll put my scarf on again and go back home. So I never thought of that memory, actually.
Yeah, a lot of girls do that here in the West, but this is the first time I heard of it happening in a Muslim majority country, because usually the school demands it as well. But I guess you went to an international school or some school that wasn't.
Yeah, I actually went to a public school, but it's Bahrain, and so not everybody wore the hijab, and a lot of women would wear it when they're older. A lot of girls would wear it when they're older, and that's their choice. Yeah, and some people do have that choice, and depending on the family. And I did not have that choice.
Yeah, most of us didn't. Most of us, especially if it was put on us at such a young age. I mean, those angels that you talked about, even you mentioning them reminds me of the anxiety that I felt growing up. To have these constant eyes on you, watching your every single move, keeping score, and you can't see the scorecard. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm doing. So you always assume the worst. You always, like you said, you always think that you're bad, because no matter what it, like as a kid, you're always getting in trouble, whether it's for asking questions or bringing mud into the house or whatever it is. And so you always feel like, I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to burn in hell. That angel is just writing stuff about me right now. And you don't think, oh no, everything's going to be fine. They're writing all good things, you know, like I don't know anybody who was that positive. You know, it caused me so much anxiety. So when did you finally decide to take off the hijab? So you didn't want to wear it, but you kept it on, of course, because you're a kid and you don't really have the control over your life.
Yeah, and I think after that, I just accepted.
You submitted.
I submitted, yeah, you know. And so and my friends wore it, my family wore it, my cousins did, and so for the longest time, I did believe that I was doing everything to please God. I was doing everything to be a really good Muslim girl. I didn't listen to music until I was 17, because, you know, God is going to insert a rod of fire from one ear to another, you know, and then when you're a child, that kind of image just sticks with you.
Yeah, or the stories of the punishment in the grave and the stories of the day of judgment and all of those stories.
I said, you know, like, yeah, so I was, I had doubts for the longest time, and I tried my best to just find reason to make sense of it, because it just seems very selfish that, you know, I'll go to heaven, and then everyone else who's, you know, not following like the Shia way or 𝗧𝗢𝗨𝗖𝗛, then they're going to go to hell, right? So even if they're a Muslim, but they did not follow the Shia, they would still go to hell. And I didn't like that I was half a man's worth. And like, and I've I've had a very rough childhood, and as a woman and as a girl, you're sexualized from the age of, you don't even know, 4, 5, maybe 4 that, and then for it to be, you know, my fault for, yeah, like, what was I wearing? What was I doing? Why did I look at that man that way? Why did I talk to the man that? Why did I even look him in the eye? You know, and so I've had those for the longest time, and I tried my best to make peace with it. I read the holy books. I read the Quran, and then I read the hadith, and then the life and whatever that comes from the imams, all 11 of them, but not the 12th, because that's a whole different mythical story. But I tried my best. And then there is just no peace in it. So I kept it while while I was around my family, but then I graduated from university and then I moved to Dubai. And at that time, I was living alone, but out having dinner with my boyfriend at that time, and we were having Japanese, and for the first time, I learned how to use chopsticks, and I was so proud. I was like, yeah, I did it. And I love food, so that was a very important moment. And I posted it on Facebook because I was proud and I wanted my friends to see it. Like, yay, I did it. And the next day that I posted it, it was, I don't know who just distributed the image. To this day, I don't know who took a snapshot of the photo and just mass shared it with everybody. That even the people that were my friends in school, like elementary and secondary school, they shunned me. I got a lot of hate speech for it, and my mom was like, well, had you died, it would have been better. And my dad was so angry that, like, my brothers were like, don't come home, it's not safe for you. Dad is saying he's going to kill you. And yeah, so that was really difficult.
Of course.
Yeah. And
I think that people don't really understand that when we get those threats from our family, it's not like regular families in the US saying, oh, dad's going to kill you.
Yeah.
This is for real.
Like, you're going to get heart talking. No.
I mean, literally a girl in Pakistan was just killed by her 3 brothers, shot and thrown in the river because she posted a picture on Facebook. Like this, that actually does get girls killed. I'm going to share that picture now so everybody can see that's it. This beautiful woman smiling with chopsticks. This is the thing that is worth killing your daughter over. I mean, how do you even wrap your brain around that?
Yeah. But that food was so good. So good. So I remember the first time I tried bacon. Seriously. Oh, I love food a lot. So the first time I tried bacon, like seriously, I was like, this is why it's haram, because it's so good. It's sinful. Yeah.
And did you have like a cosmopolitan with it or something? A margarita?
I think so. I definitely drank a lot of something at the rugby club. Wait, different story. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and to be honest, like, my dad threatening, to kill me, and that was not what really hurt. It's, there are worse things than death. And so I think my mom going, like, had you died, it would have been better. That hurt. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I had an intervention, by the way.
Oh.
So my brother got sick while I was in Dubai, and I went back to Bahrain for a visit. He has sickle cell, so so I went back for a visit, and my high school friend had an intervention for me. The Nada, we really care about you, we love you, and we're super worried about you. So you're gonna burn in hell. So just wear the hijab, please, just so you don't go to hell and you don't cause your mom so much suffering. And all that manipulation of, it's your fault for hurting your mom. it's not, you know, it's the culture and a bit of your parents' fault for having conditional love and only loving you if you did ABC, you know, and so yeah.
That is the thing that hurts the most, is knowing that their love for you was so conditional. It makes you feel like if these people who are, you know, genetically predisposed to love me can't even love me because of a piece of cloth, you know, it makes you feel like, what's your value? Like, do you have any value? Are you worth being loved? You know, it's just so horrible how they completely forget the human being, who you are, you know, you're their daughter, like all of that is forgotten over a piece of cloth. It's, and they don't, I don't know if I wonder if it haunts them the way it haunts us, you know, like I wonder if they just go, oh, whatever, it's over. And then they just go on with their lives.
I think, so I genuinely think that my parents love me. I know that they do. They just don't have the tools and that maybe cognitive strength to say that I'll love my child and accept them and not cause a schism in their beliefs. And so God comes above children. God is first. And I remember when I first had my doubts and everything was very difficult, is like I sent a message to my therapist at the time, my counselor, and I asked her if I was betraying my parents, if I was betraying my family, if I was betraying my heritage and culture by no longer being the Orthodox Muslim that I was at that time. And she sent me a poem by 𝗃𝗀𝗁 on children. And now whenever life gets difficult and I feel like I need to reach out or be like, just feel like I hurt my parents and it's my fault for just being me, I just read the poem and I feel a lot better. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little bit of a summary of that poem? Like, what's the main message?
Sure. So I'm just going to read, actually, it's super short, but it says, your children are not your children. They're the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backwards, not tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might. that his arrows may go swift and far, let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. So yeah, whenever I feel like I'm betraying my parents, my family, my heritage, everything that they stood for, I remember that love is supposed to be unconditional, and yeah.
And you have every right to be yourself and to become your own person and to not be the person that your family demands of you, but to be whoever your soul, your mind, your heart want you to be.
Yeah, but that takes a while, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Yeah. And it takes a while for us. And I don't think that our families, I don't think that they see things from that perspective, at least not my family. Generally with Arab families, kids, especially girls, are simply an extension of the family. You're part of the, the family honor lays in you. Like, you're so responsible for the happiness of your parents and the honor of the family, and it's a lot of pressure, and you don't think of yourself as an individual. No. So thank you so much for sharing that poem. That was beautiful. I hope more Arab parents read that.
Yeah. He's Lebanese.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because he knows what it's like to be in that social pressure.
Yeah.
And you, as that arrow flying, living your own life, you said that you no longer have any contact with your family, I guess, after them threatening to kill you.
Actually, no. We had a period of mending where they try to tolerate. They try to accept, and I appreciate them for all of their effort. And my dad, even when I got married, to an American, like, seriously, those baby blue eyes. Yeah, so I got married, and I talked with my mom and dad before getting married, and I was like, I don't want to get married behind your back. And my dad and I told my parents that I don't expect them to accept it or approve of it, but I just want to stay in contact, that they don't lose touch, and I'm doing this out of respect. And my dad did it. He stayed in touch, and after my ex and I got married and I went back to Bahrain for a visit, my dad actually met my ex, and he was like, yeah, he seems like he's got a really good head on his shoulder, and he's razin. So yeah, I don't know what's
they insist. Yeah, level-headed, wise, mature.
Yeah.
Did they ask him to convert to Islam?
No, and I told them I don't expect him to.
That's good. That's
my
really
uncle,
open-minded of your family.
Yeah, they're trying, absolutely trying.
How open-minded? Like, would they be okay if you told them you were bi? Have you told them?
No, they don't.
That's the line. That's the boundary.
It's yeah, that's. I was actually having a really hard time with that. I was like, I already came out to my parents once, actually multiple. So I'm like, I don't want to come out again. Like, what if I have a girlfriend and then do I have to just like go like, hey mom, hey dad, this is my partner, we're together, right? And so yeah, they would never approve of it. Yeah.
So you said you wanted to tell us a little bit about what it's like to be bi in Bahrain. What's the LGBT community like there?
So I actually, so I lived in Bahrain and Dubai, and what happens is there are a lot of underground meetups, and I know it's a joke, but definitely like the gay in you recognizes the gay, like the gay in me recognizes the gay in you kind of thing, and the gaydar works quite well.
It's like gayest day, I guess.
Yeah. So basically that, and the lesbian community is super tight knit. It's just, so apparently it's like that everywhere, but we don't really talk about that, right? It's people have doubts, like if somebody's gay and they're feminine, or mask or whatever, depending, like if they're doing opposite gender, not the gender norms, people might talk, but as long as they still portray themselves as really good Muslims and not talk about it, and they go to Salat al-Jumu'ah Friday prayers, and they're like Ramadan Kareem and everything, and we're good. Just,
and you even wear hijab, and just make sure that you look Muslim on the outside, or you look like you're practicing. I have a line in my book where I said, I know the hell of being born a Muslim. I know the double hell of being born a Muslim woman. And I can't imagine the triple hell of being born a lesbian Muslim woman. And when you were talking now about how, you put the persona on and you hide who you are, that is so difficult. And it's doubly difficult if they're not a believing Muslim and also gay. Like you just have to hide so many parts of yourself from the people around you. And when I had to live a double life like that, I found it to be it was rotting my soul. Like I hated it so much. And I was willing to take whatever comes, whatever I have to deal with, I'll deal with it, rather than having to pretend, but I'm in Canada, so I have that freedom where I can choose to accept whatever happens to me. But you can't do that when you're in a Muslim majority country.
It's definitely difficult, and I guess as long as like they don't talk about it, right? They live their lives and don't ask, don't tell policy kind of thing.
So you were married to this ex, and you were so after you guys, it wasn't the relationship for you, and so you've been through a lot in your life. Like you have overcome a lot of things. And I think that, I don't know if you have the energy right now to talk about this ex of yours and leaving that, but I do want to celebrate you. Okay. Just as much as you're comfortable, because I know we've delved into some really deep, dark places today, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but you can just focus on the good side of getting free from him if you like. It's up to you.
I'm absolute. I can talk about it all, but
Okay.
he's so I genuinely think that my ex is a really good person, and I know that, like, he's a good human being by most standards, and I think that I didn't know any better, and so my ex and I dated for 2 years before we got married, and before we got married, we talked about money, children, sex, where are we going to live? We talked about all of that. So by rational standards, we covered our bases. And because his dad was a pastor and he was no longer a Christian, I found that commonality with him, that he also like broke away from tradition in some way, or just Orthodox religion, yeah. And I genuinely thought for maybe like for a very long time, that he was absolutely out of my league, that I was so lucky that we're even together, just because I've never, like, when you don't really have good examples of love, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know. You're like, a red flag. Oh, look, a bright color. And then you don't know what that is, right? You don't know what that is, and then they just keep on happening. And I thought that it was my fault for the longest time, that he was emotionally and verbally abusive. Yeah, that I used to tell him that I felt like a Project 𝗫𝗀𝗁 because he would control the way I part my hair, for example, or like how, like, so my hair is curly and frizzy, and I have a very wild hair like me, and he didn't like that. And he would say things like, I don't know, have you tried losing weight, or skincare, or whatever things, yeah. And so I didn't know any better. I genuinely didn't know any better, because my whole life I was told that I was ugly, yeah, that and I was not the beauty standards. And so I genuinely thought that it was my fault, that I was not enough. And I didn't understand why I was upset, why it hurt, why I didn't know if that was abuse. Just I didn't like he didn't hate me, right? So and even when I didn't feel safe and I had to leave our apartment at that time, and all I knew at that time was I don't feel safe, and I didn't know if that's abuse, and I didn't want to hurt him. And some people did say, but he didn't hurt you though, right? So yeah, but it took him a while, and he apologized after it all ended. And I genuinely think that he regrets it all. because now we're on really good terms.
Oh, good.
And I'm proud of him for how far he's come, and I am absolutely excited for his future relationships.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was maturity too, that he needed to grow up.
Yeah, that he needed to understand that, I don't know what control that is. Like he was trying to inflict or cause or whatever, but that's not how love works. That's not how a partnership works. And I'm absolutely proud of him for how far he's come.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. And I think that, you know, these red flags that you were saying that you didn't recognize, I think it's fair to say too that having a man that is controlling is pretty typical. Like that would not surprise you at all. Probably, you know, your dad was controlling of your mom, your uncles were controlling of your aunts, you know, like probably every relationship, male-female relationship you saw was like that. I
mean, it's in the law in it. Like there is nushuz, and if a woman goes out of her husband's house without his permission, then that's nushuz. Like that's straying from, I don't know, her husband's, I don't know, what do you call it? Law or power or control, I guess. Basically. So it's written in law, in the Bahraini law. We have 𝗃𝗓𝗏𝗂𝗏, and it's right there. So you're so used to this relationship. The women are 𝗔𝗕𝗢𝗨𝗧. The men are the guardians of women. They control, they are responsible for their, so that sort of dynamic you're not used to. You're not expecting an equal relationship. You know, this is what you would expect. So why would you see those red flags? Half a man's worth, right? Like 𝗬𝘀𝗀𝗍𝗀𝗁. I'm like, okay, great. So I need to have another woman for my award to be counted. Well, just a man, just one man. And
you're half a man.
I'm half a man. So
So how did you're in the US at this point. I don't know if I want to say, I'll just say the state of California. And you get away from
Southern California, right?
and you're all by yourself at this point when you left him. Like, I mean, that must have been a huge thing in your life to do that.
It was. And LGBTQ communities have chosen families, right? And I have a chosen family.
Oh, that's nice.
I really love them. So I met Mama Cross, Rebecca, in Bahrain back in 2014, I think, 15, whatever, and 14, I think. We were volunteering for the Dog Father, which is a no-kill animal shelter. So we met there, and we raised funds by like having an event, and then we got drunk at the rugby club, and we ended up having an all-night rager, and that was then. And we stayed in touch, and then my ex and I moved here, and they live here. And we just stayed in touch, and they've been more parents to me than my own parents.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. they're amazing. The Cross family are just, I'm just so grateful that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed with them for a while because
to get on your feet.
Yeah. It's that, you know, to be on my emotional, to be balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a lot of women who are abused go back to their abusers because they don't have a support system. And it takes them, I don't know how many times, it takes them a long time, 5, 6, 7, whatever.
Yeah.
But because I had a great support system, and they're amazing people, it only took me one time.
Wow.
And
that's
right.
That
is
just
so
by
lucky. Them. Yeah, just by them being partners and observing that, I've learned a lot. Also, what it's like to have a partner, an equal partner. So, yeah, I really love them.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's really great. Now I wish I was gay and I had chosen family.
My best friend also wishes that she was gay, but for different reasons.
Yeah, because when I left my ex with my daughter, like, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know what was available to me. I mean, I'm in Canada. We have so many social programs, but I lived in my own little bubble, so I didn't really know what was available. So yeah, it's just so wonderful to have a soft place to land. And the fact that you said that, you know, they're more your family than your actual family. Like, I'm so grateful that they were there for you. I'm so happy that they were there for you. That's, you know, it's just, they saved your life by being there at that time, you know, when you.
They did. Yeah. So Mama Cross used to be a lifeguard in Guam. And we were chatting and I was like, you're a lifeguard in more ways than one. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
I just love her.
Oh, we all love her. So now I've opened it up to the rest of the group here in case anybody has any questions or comments for Neda. I see your best friend Michelle is here joining us from France.
Hi. I'm reading the comments. It's a hideout.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So if there's anyone that has anything to say to Neda, then just go ahead and unmute yourself now.
I guess I can speak, but my camera is not on. Hi, Neda, and hi, Yasmine, and hi, everybody. Hi. What a great conversation, you know. And Neda, we are so proud of you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And, you know, the reason we speak is that, you know, we all have a story and we need to keep speaking and we have to keep being courageous and, you know, continue to say, if you want to say no to Momo and no to whatever, you know, this all crap, you're welcome to do so. And yeah, we need to keep speaking. And it is really scary because I just saw recently a video what's happening in Sweden. I think Yasmin, you are aware about somebody mentioned about burning the Quran, you know, and then these people are outraged and crazy.
They didn't even burn it yet.
They just
talked about the fact that they might burn it, and that was enough.
Yeah. But yeah, and if you said that to if somebody, I had a space the other day and I was like, hey, I want to burn a Bible. Can you guys tell me where I can do it? You know, somebody would probably look at me like, am I crazy? Or they would say, oh, just to make sure you don't burn, you know, the neighbors, but they wouldn't like kill me. But if I say that to the Quran, I mean, it's totally different. Islam, there's something fundamentally is wrong with this ideology. And it's really sad that in the West, we are given pass, you know, we literally given easy passes, like easy excuse that we let these people, you know, pass these abuses that is hidden under need with this ideology. It's just shame on us, shame on the free world. And we need to just keep speaking. And we need to keep telling our story. And I'm proud of you. And I know we connected in Instagram. And I know you shared something very, you know, about the incident that happened to you. It really resonated with me, you know, the sexual assault. And yeah, thank you. It felt like you were kind of telling my story, but those things happen. And you can't talk about it because if you do, it's your fault. Where were you, right?
Yeah, what were you wearing, right?
Yep. What were you doing? Yeah, right. So, and I have seen so many other girls have been in this situation, and they don't speak about it because if you do, it's your fault. So you just have to save it. And in my situation, I had to save myself. I had to run away as fast as I can. You know, you have to escape from these situations and save yourself, but we have to talk about it. It's a taboo. I know in the culture you don't talk about it, but we need to talk about it. We have to be okay to acknowledge these things because these things are hidden, and it does happen in the Muslim country and Muslim community. They said, oh, you're a Muslim, you don't supposed to do these are haram. No, it happens. It happens behind the door. So I really appreciate, thank you for sharing that. And I just want to say I'm proud of you for fighting for your freedom. And we are grateful for you coming here and sharing your story because it will resonate with a lot of people. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sahara.
And love and respect. Thank you. Thanks, Yasmine, for letting me speak.
Thank you for being such a light and a joy, Sahara.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are. And thank you for speaking up as well. I'm proud of you. And I'm absolutely happy and grateful that women are sharing their stories, that we're talking about it, that we're taking away the power from our abusers.
Mm-hmm.
And the law is still, it's still part of the Bahraini system where, so if a woman is raped or sexually assaulted, the abuser has a choice of going to prison if she's married or marrying her, because that would, you know, as his punishment. But it will be saving, you know, that would be mercy for the woman, because who's gonna want to marry somebody who's no longer a virgin, right? So it's still part of the law and it hasn't changed. And in Dubai, if you report it rape, you go to prison. So yeah, and it's insane. It's crazy. In Lebanon, for example, married women versus unmarried women, who like, so if a man rapes a woman or two, like, yeah, so if a man rapes a woman and she's unmarried, he gets a lesser sentence than if she was married.
Oh, because you've insulted a man now by using his property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah.
Imagine I think it was Sahara that wrote that in the chat. She says, imagine, Mashar said it. Imagine the horror of marrying your rapist.
It's like, yeah, it's like that bit is not enough. How about you have a lifetime of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So who's going to you're never going to tell. Why would you ever tell the police? So that you can either be considered a whore, or you can be stoned for, you know, accusing him of raping you, but you didn't have 4 witnesses, so you're a liar. or you're going to have to end up marrying this man who just raped you. Like none of these options are desirable.
No, and if you marry, like if a woman is married, rape within a marriage,
doesn't exist.
is not considered rape. Because a woman's job is to not go out of the house without her husband's permission, and to not say no to sex ever. She does not have the right to say no, unless
over
it's
her own body
during her period or she's fasting. I don't know what else. Just like when else. It's just
even if she's on top of a camel, as the hadith says.
Oh gosh. Guys, so I grew up in the camp back in Kenya. So when girls got raped or something happened, they were arranged marriage because you want to hide that you don't want it, to happen. That was a rape or that was, a shame because it's going to bring shame to the family. So it was arranged married to the guy who raped. I have seen that where I grew up. It happens. It just breaks my heart.
I'm so sorry.
So she's the one who's being punished. She's raped and then she's punished afterwards. And Erkan.
All right.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Nada. Brilliant to listen to you and just to hear your stories about. Something that struck me, apart from what Yas was saying about one thing, is just like being so estranged from your own flesh and blood that you don't even know, you don't have any inkling about what they might be thinking. It's just like it's such an unimaginable headspace for me. Like what Yas said before about she doesn't even know, and you as well, you don't even know how your own parents will, what they'll be thinking about your life, and whether they'd even accept it, of course, is another thing. But the other thing I wanted to say is, as well as about the, you mentioned, we've talked a lot about hell today, and I think that that's an important thing, actually, that's not really been mentioned quite as much as it has been in this particular session. And I think that, a couple of, quite a few well-known kind of commentators have said that hell, the concept of hell, if we go back to Bertrand Russell and recently Richard Dawkins and people like that, the very concept of hell is an abusive, horrific, truly horrific concept. Bertrand Russell said it's the height of immorality, basically, to invent the invention of a hell. It's the height of immorality. That we invent this horrible place that we're going to send kids to. We abuse kids basically when they're growing up, and we tell them that they're going to go to this place. It's just horrific, and I hope that you don't believe in hell anymore. And there probably is no hell. So I just want to say that there probably is.
You could
no
even
hell,
drop
so.
the probably.
Yeah, there probably is. No, I think Richard. No, but we have to be. It's like
right.
Say,
okay. Let's be
on a scale from
this.
on a scale from 1 to 7, he's like a 6.9. Like there always has to be that slither of doubt. But yeah, in all probability, there is no hell, and just enjoy your life, Nada. You're beautiful, and we respect you, and we appreciate you talking to us. So yeah, well done to you.
Okay. So I am, because I've lived the way I thought of it is I have lived that. I used to think that because of how hard I've lived, I wouldn't be going to hell, or if I went to hell, it would be a breeze because I'm already here. So how much worse could it get? Yeah. Like, and But the idea of just raising children based on fear it's just ridiculous. Even though in Islam they're like, oh, don't have faith based on fear, because that's the worship of the slaves, you know, that's the way slaves worship. And so they have a saying like that, but it's the idea of, I don't know, hell is comforting, yeah, that there's heaven and there's hell. There's the movie The Invention of Lying. I forgot what the actor's name is. And when his mom was passing at the hospital, and he's like, well, Mom, you're gonna go to a really nice place, and you know, everybody that you love is gonna be there, and you're not gonna be old and frail, and you'll be back young. And that's probably how it started. And when life was really hard and people did not really get like they felt like life didn't do them justice, or they had it really hard and other people hurt them, it's a really comforting idea to think that they're gonna go to a really bad place and what they've done is gonna come around.
But you know, whatever the option, you know, Christopher Hitchens said something about, you know, even whatever the option is, even heaven, you know, you go to heaven and every day is just about pleasing the dear leader. You know, he said it's like a kind of cosmic North Korea, you know, even the idea of heaven wouldn't be, you know, everything is just, it's so slavish. Everything about this faith, everything about so many religions, but especially monotheism and especially Islam, it's so slavish. It really is.
Muslims are called slaves of Allah. So whenever you see the Abdullah, Abdurrahman, you know, Abd, so many names start with Abd, that means slave. So, and then there's 99 names of Allah. And so they're all like slaves of, and then different synonyms for the word Allah.
Yeah.
That's what you're told to be. So yeah, slavish mentality is absolutely correct. But they're, you know, what Neda said is also correct. I mean, they're always talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're always doing that all the time. Don't be a slave, but also you're a slave. Wear the hijab, you're going to burn in hell, but also it's your choice, right? They're always doing this. So you always feel like you're a crazy person because you're constantly, if you try to complain, they're like, oh no, but then there's this, you know, so reality is always like smoke, you know, you can't really, I don't know how to explain it.
What they tell you it is.
Yes, exactly. It's not what it actually is, but it's what they tell you it is. And you have to accept that. Yes. Sorry, Neda. I just jumped in there.
Oh, I appreciate it. I love it. That's how I have conversations anyway.
All right, I'm going to read this comment here from Taylene. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope I am. She says, thank you so much for sharing your story, Neda. More people need to be exposed to narratives such as yours. For those who are interested, I recommend the book Who Cooked the Last Supper by Rosalind Miles, which discusses world history through a feminist lens. Oh, super interesting and a must read for all who are proponents of women's rights and other forgotten feminists. So thank you for that recommendation, Taylene. All right, was there anyone else that had anything to say to Neda before we wrap up? Rina, I think you unmuted yourself, so I'm wondering if that's because you wanted to say something. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, I will try and make it short. Neda, I just want to say you've gone a long way. I spent some time in Saudi, but over 20 years ago, and it's interesting to see the difference between Saudi and Bahrain, okay? But also I want to make you laugh and tell you that using chopsticks for the first time, unless you're Japanese, for anybody is not easy.
No.
And the other thing I wanted to add is I love Halil Gibran.
Yeah.
When you spoke about the counselor telling you, I went like this because I knew about him, and that's how I tried to raise my daughter.
Yeah.
And everybody should be aware of him. It's wonderful what he has to say.
his poem on marriage as well was very helpful, because I didn't know what a healthy relationship is supposed to be. But the way he described it is that like cypress trees, you know, they're apart, but they're also together. And for that, I'm learning, and I'm grateful that I'm learning more about humanity and relationships through poetry. It's
I'll just add one more thing, because it keeps coming back. Heaven and hell. I mean, I was born Catholic, raised Catholic rather.
I tried Catholic for a year, actually.
Yeah, there were a lot of rules, okay? To me, any religion, it just teaches you do unto others. Treat others the way you want to be treated. So heaven is here as well as hell. If you don't treat people well, you're going to feel it somewhere along the way, right here on earth, right? It's not another part where you go when you die. It's just be good. And I'm sure everybody hopefully would agree.
Yeah, I partially agree with that. So I think that it's more of treat others like they'd like to be treated, just because people like to be treated differently, and so they have different needs, and maybe what I might have needed at that time is not what they need.
Right.
And so,
but kindness.
yes,
you know,
absolutely,
kindness goes a long way.
Yeah, and I think that just living life with definitely mindfulness and kindness is all that you can do in this life, right? To just live it and experience it. And as long as you don't really hurt other people, just do whatever you please. And yeah, maybe I do believe that there is heaven and hell on this earth, but I also don't believe in karma, because I've seen enough that I'm like, whatever that went around is definitely not. It's just like, you know, whatever that went around is definitely taking a very long time to just come around. So yeah, so I don't believe in karma. Life just is, and we're all trying our best.
Yeah, life unfolds and we live it, but the best way we can.
Yes, I love that.
For all of humanity.
Yes. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
Oh.
Ǹēdā, before we wrap up, I want to make sure that you've said everything that you wanted to say, or there wasn't something that you wanted to share or plug. I know what you just said now is a beautiful conclusion, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't something else that I'm missing.
Yeah, Esther, she's like, I'm a Muslim, but my parents are ultra liberal. Yeah, I actually, I think about this often.
Let's read it out loud, because the people that are watching this recording won't be able to read it. So she says,
I'm a Muslim, but my parents are ultra liberal. Hearing your story, I appreciate them even more. Having said that, I was a victim of the Sharia law, which does not allow women to seek divorce. It took me 3 years and filing for divorce 5 times to finally succeed. I hope one day women acquire basic rights in the place. Oh yeah, so you were معلقة, like in Arabic we say معلقة, yeah. And so Bahraini law has 2 parts. So the Sunni what do you call it, part of the law, and the Shia part of the law. And the Sunni part has progressed to where women can get a divorce, but the Shia side, there were like major protests back in 2000, I think 2000, I don't know, 2, 3, whatever, قانون الأحوال الشخصية. And women are not able to get a divorce unless their husband says okay. So I'm really sorry that you have to deal with that. That really sucks. And I often think about, like, had I grew up in a more liberal family, in a more open-minded family where religion was, I don't know, they had a laissez-faire kind of way of believing and practicing, I probably would have still been a Muslim. Maybe I wouldn't have lost my family, my community, my support system, right? And so it's one of those, I don't know, moments where I'm like, yeah, maybe, like, because the idea that religion is supposed to progress with the people. If it doesn't, then what's the point? And it takes a lot of courage, and it's very scary to not believe, because belief and religion is a safety blanket. It's comforting. And to not have that, and to have accountability and be your own, person, is scary. And to take responsibility, who wants to take responsibility? So religion is comforting, it's structured, it's safe. And so I understand why people do it, but it's not for everyone. Yeah, and it shouldn't really affect whether or not you live your life, or you have a family or not. It just shouldn't. It should be like, 𝗷𝗓𝗀𝗁𝗍 𝗦𝗲𝗊𝗁𝗂. Isn't that what the Prophet said? Like, you have your religion, I have mine. So
that's another one of those schizophrenic things that I was mentioning, like constant dichotomy between لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينٍ, which means you have your religion and I have mine. But then also, if you leave Islam, you're to be killed. So like, and then if you complain and you say, hey, you guys are killing us, they're like, no, what are you talking about? لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينٍ. So
yeah. And I remember, I think it was the bombing in Libya. The embassy, it was an embassy, where an American embassy, was it in Libya? A long time ago, and there was a bombing, and some American diplomats died in the bombing. And I remember watching the TV, and my mom was watching. She was like, yeah, they deserve it, those infidels. 𝗬𝗀𝗍𝗪 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗏.
Yeah, that was my mom at 9/11.
And I remember thinking, like, these are people. Like they, how do they deserve it? So that was a moment of, yeah, something.
Yeah. But like this commenter here was saying, like, even if your parents are, I mean, it's funny that we did that as well. We also did that juxtaposition thing, because we talked about Bahrain being a liberal country, but then we also talked about how women can't get divorced. So you're not so liberal. You don't even have freedom to,
Yeah,
but I mean, it's all relative, right? Like, who are you when you compare it to other, like, you're comparing it to Saudi Arabia quite often, right? So yeah, in comparison, it looks more open-minded. But it doesn't even matter at the end of the day when the laws are there. Even if your parents are open-minded and everybody in your family is liberal, you still got the laws of the land that you have to follow, which are Sharia. And that's why secularism, separation of mosque and state, is so vital.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious as to which country. Thank you.
I don't know if she wants to say.
I wonder which country SR is from, or which country that she had to deal with Sharia law in.
If you're comfortable telling us SR, you can just write it in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was either Saudi Arabia or Iran. If her parents are ultra liberal, I'm guessing it was Iran, but I don't know.
Yeah, and they do have crazy
They have Sharia there.
Yeah. My cousins actually live there to be religious clerics.
Yeah. And they do the thing that always fascinated me about, because the thing that you guys have that Sunnis don't have is the whole Ashura thing. That's the flagellum. Oh my God. Yeah. And there's kids that are like smacking themselves with swords and whips and chains, little BDSM going on there.
I mean, yeah. So cute.
Whips and chains. Ooh, I love you, Ali.
That's the wrong one. It's Hussein, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You're gonna burn in hell now.
Oh, well, I'll add that to the list. Oh, she said she's from Iran. Okay, I guessed correctly. She's from Iran, but she's living in Dubai currently.
Yeah. So no, yes and no. So Shias, not all Shias, but those who follow 𝗬𝘀𝗀𝗏, right? Which is, it's not enough that you follow, God, Prophet, and all 12 imams, right? You also need to follow a religious cleric.
Mm-hmm. That's very different from Sunni too. They don't have that.
Yeah,
no humanness.
And they tell you what to do exactly. And if you're not sure what to do, you just ask them and they will tell you. And depending on who you follow, you can, like, some just do, I don't know if it's Shirazi or Sistani, one of those. Like, it's okay to do the tatbir, to do the flogging and that, yeah. So as far as like, she's like, I don't know much about Islam.
Mm-hmm. Iran is different from a lot of the Arab countries in that the people themselves are open-minded. And men believe in equality of the sexes, and like they truly are a more liberal country, but their government is full on Sharia. So it's different from a lot of the Arab countries. Like, I grew up in Egypt and I lived in Qatar for almost a decade, and the people themselves are religious. Yeah. And whether the government was there or not, I mean, even in Egypt, they have some laws that are more progressive than the people would accept for themselves, if that makes sense. Like, they're like, no, we have to follow Sharia, even though the law of the country is more progressive or more relaxed. They'll follow the more strict laws because that's what their religion demands. Yeah, Erkan says he has an Iranian friend who's a great guy, hates the government, and he's atheist. That's like all Iranians. They're all great people that hate the government. And pretty open.
It's insane. But yeah, the flogging depends on the type. Yeah, the Ayatollah, which religious cleric you follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. But
when you were commenting before about how difficult it is, how easy it is to be part of a religion and a community and a group and somebody telling you what to do versus you having to figure it out on your own, like that is so true. And that's why, I mean, what you just talked about now about if you don't know what to do, you ask this imam, like that's really insidious to do that to human beings. Like it's like you have to shut your brain off because you're not worthy of making decisions. Like even the most, you can't decide for yourself what brings you joy or what brings you happiness or what you want to do. It's always decided by some outside source. And so people like us, and so many of us on this call, when we decide that we don't want to follow this very strict set of rules and we have to think for ourselves, Lord have mercy, is that difficult? Because you've never made any decisions. I mean, everything was mapped out for me. You know, how you put on your shoes, how you take off your shoes, how you walk into the bathroom, how you walk out of the bathroom, how you eat, how you drink, how you cut your nails. I mean, everything, how you dress, how you talk, how you walk. And suddenly you have to trust yourself, trust your gut, decide, use your own brain.
Yeah, just, I think one of the most difficult things is to just trust my feelings. And before that, it was understanding feelings. I talk a lot about therapy. I'll talk about another therapist now, but when I went for therapy after I came back from the Gulf, because I went into a super major depressive episode when I came back. Like, so I went back to the Gulf while married to visit family. And coming back it was quite difficult. I could not assimilate. I didn't fit in. And when I came back, I just fell into a major depression. And I went to a therapist, and she had to print a feelings wheel because I did not have names for feelings. I did not understand that they were more feelings than happy, sad, angry. And I had to learn the words for it. And then it's after I learned what those feelings were, to just learn to understand what they mean. Because just because you feel something, it doesn't mean that you do it, because you're trained to fight your impulses, that you're inherently faulty and wrong, and you're inadequate. So to just trust it. One of those is like, I feel this way and I have this feeling, but I don't know if I should trust it. And I still struggle with that. But then the more I fight it, the more I fight it, the worse it gets. And so now I'm learning to just go like, well, just accept it.
But you got to give yourself credit, though, for doing what you have done and listening to your feelings all of those times and trusting your gut and moving forward. Even when it was life-threatening, you still kept going. You still trusted yourself. It was scary, but you did it. You believed in yourself, and you look at you now, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you all the confidence to keep trusting yourself, because you're just onwards and upwards. Your trajectory is just soaring. So you know that what your gut is telling you is the right thing. And I
am. Thank you. No, I am. I look back and I'm like, well, I've lived, like, and
You've survived.
Yeah. Like when, like, I don't know, when people go like, I go to hell, I'm like, I've been there, we're good. Like, yeah, cool. So yeah, now seriously, I never thought that I'd live past the age of 30 just because life is so hard. And I was like, either life is going to take me out or I will. But I'm 31 now and I'm so happy. This is the happiest I've been. I'm like, the world is so big and there are people and there are stories and experiences and it's just beautiful and exciting. And it's just so amazing to just live. And I love that. I'm absolutely grateful. Like, even with my super swollen ankle, and I'm like, well, that's a story. I guess I'm not going to be wearing heel now. But I'm happy.
I can totally see now why you and Michelle are best friends. You guys both have that joie de vivre, that just, you know, gratitude and appreciation and thirst, just hunger for life and experiences. And, you know, when you're raised in a teeny tiny little box and you're set free, it's like intoxicating how much there is out there to learn and to enjoy and to appreciate and to experience. And I'm so happy that you're free and that you get to have all of these amazing adventures. And I'm really grateful that you joined us here today. And Paula is saying that you are a superstar. And I completely agree with her. And SR is saying, thank you, Nneda, for sharing your story. Be proud of yourself and enjoy your life. And thank you for Yasmine for facilitating. My pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure to have you, Nneda. Thank you so much. Was there anything that you wanted to share? Like, do you want to tell us about your Instagram or something like that? Or I just want to make sure I don't hang up before you've.
I don't know. It's only recently that I'm actually sharing stories on Instagram, but I think I'll continue to do that. I'll just continue to share experiences and stories through my social media and hopefully through the conversations and just living life and meeting people that we all change the narrative, that we make the world a little kinder.
That's beautiful. Well, I'll definitely share your Instagram in the description for this video. Absolutely. So please follow Nneda and follow her adventures and her really, really beautiful write-ups. You need to write a book. Like, you're an amazing writer.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining us. Again, Nneda, thank you so much for being our gracious guest today. And I'll see you all at the next Forgotten Feminists.
Thank you
all.
Bye.